The wind came out of nowhere, slamming into the sails like a freight train. One second we were laughing, the sun warm on our faces, the Pacific stretching out in every direction like it belonged only to us. The next, the sky turned the color of wet slate and the boat heeled so hard I thought we were going over. Sarah shouted something I couldn't hear over the roar. I lunged for the tiller, slipped, and she caught me by the waist, her arms locking around me like a lifeline. In the chaos, her mouth found mine. Not a brush, not an accident. A real kiss, desperate and certain. Salt, fear, and something else I had spent 8 years pretending didn't exist. When she pulled back, her green eyes were huge. "Emily," she said, voice cracking, "I can't lie anymore." We made it back to the marina in San Diego just after midnight, soaked, shaking, and silent. The harbor lights smeared across the water like accusations. I drove her to my apartment because her place was 30 miles away, and neither of us could face being alone. We stood in the kitchen dripping on the tile, neither of us knowing what came next. She spoke first. "I've wanted to do that since junior year. I told myself it was admiration. Girl crush stuff. Then admiration turned into missing you when you weren't around, then into dreaming about you, then into—" She stopped, swallowed. "I'm scared out of my mind." I had loved Sarah Thompson since the night we met at a UCLA mixer. When she handed me a red Solo cup and said, "You look like you need a friend who doesn't suck," I had built an entire life around the rule. Never tell her. Never risk the only person who made the world feel safe. And now she had kissed me in a storm and the rule was ash. We didn't sleep that night. We sat on the couch, knees touching, talking in circles until the sun came up. She told me about the boys she dated, how every kiss felt like a performance, how she'd lie awake after they left and think about the way I laughed at her terrible jokes, how she'd started noticing the way my hand fit in hers when we walked side by side. By morning we were exhausted and giddy and terrified. When she finally left to go home and change for work, she kissed me again, soft, deliberate, like she was sealing a promise. I watched her drive away and felt the first crack in my chest. This was going to cost us everything we had built. For 3 weeks we lived in a bubble no one else could see. Stolen mornings before work, late nights at my place with the curtains drawn, whispered phone calls when she was supposed to be reviewing case files. She was still Sarah, loud, funny, fiercely loyal, but now there was a softness in her eyes when she looked at me that made my knees weak. I introduced her to my parents as still my best friend, just closer now. They smiled politely. My mother's gaze lingered a second too long on the way Sarah's hand brushed mine. My father said nothing. They had moved from Hanoi to Orange County in the 90s. They understood survival, not this. Sarah's family was another story. The Thompsons lived in a big colonial house outside Chicago, went to the same evangelical church every Sunday, sent Christmas cards with Bible verses. Sarah had always been the golden child, law degree, partner track at a top firm, the girl who brought home nice Christian boys. Telling them was not an option, she said. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I told myself I understood. I repeated it like a mantra while she held me in the dark and promised this was real, that we'd figure it out. Then came the firm's annual gala. Sarah asked me to be her +1, as a friend of course. I wore a black dress that made her stare too long in the hotel elevator. Halfway through the night, one of the senior partners clapped Sarah on the back and said, "Still flying solo, Thompson? You're breaking hearts left and right." Sarah laughed it off, but later in the ladies' room she gripped the sink so hard her knuckles went white. "I hate this," she whispered. "I hate pretending." That night she stayed over. We made love for the first time, slow, careful, full of wonder and apology. Afterward she cried against my shoulder and said, "I don't want to lose my family, Em. But I don't want to lose you either." I held her and said nothing because I already knew the math didn't add up. The first fracture came in October. Sarah's mother flew out for a surprise visit. We had planned a quiet weekend at my place. Instead, Sarah canceled on me with a text that read, "Family emergency, talk later." She called at 2 a.m. I told her I was seeing someone. I didn't say who. She asked if it was serious. I said yes. She asked if he was a good Christian man. I didn't correct her. The silence on the line felt like drowning. 2 weeks later Sarah showed up at my door with red eyes and a story. Her mother had set her up with the son of a deacon back home. Nice guy, law school. Perfect on paper. Sarah had gone on one date to buy time. Just dinner, she said. I thought if I went once they'd stop pushing. I asked if she kissed him. She wouldn't meet my eyes. That was the night I realized love could be a weapon you turned on yourself. I told her I needed space. She begged. I closed the door anyway. For 10 days we didn't speak. Then she appeared on my doorstep at midnight holding 2 plane tickets to Chicago. Thanksgiving, she said. Come with me. As my best friend. Just be there. I need you there. I should have said no. Instead I packed a bag and flew into the lion's den. The Thompson house smelled like cinnamon and judgment. Sarah's father prayed over every meal, thanking God for guiding our daughter toward righteous paths. Her mother watched me like I was a puzzle she couldn't solve. On the second night Sarah's brother cornered me in the kitchen and said, "Lo, you're the reason she's been acting weird, aren't you?" I left the room without answering. That night Sarah crawled into my guest's bed and whispered, "I'm going to tell them after the holidays." I swear. I wanted to believe her. I really did. Christmas break brought the breaking point. Sarah's mother found the texts. Not the explicit ones, we had been careful, but the ones that said, "I miss you and I love you and can't wait to hold you again." The blow-up was biblical. Sarah's father called her an abomination. Her mother cried and prayed and threatened to cut her off completely. Her brother told her she was dead to him until she repented. Sarah called me from the airport, voice raw. "I'm coming home. I chose you. I chose us." She moved in the next day. For 2 months we tried to build a life in the wreckage. She lost her partnership track. Too many personal issues, the firm said. My own parents stopped calling as often. Friends picked sides. Most picked the version of Sarah they'd always known. Then came the night she got drunk and said, "Sometimes I wonder if it would be easier if we'd never kissed on that boat." The words landed like a slap. I slept on the couch. In the morning she apologized through tears, but the damage was done. I saw it in her eyes. The doubt, the grief for the life she'd lost, the quiet resentment that I had become the reason for it all. I started pulling away. She noticed. We fought, ugly, honest fights about family and faith and whether love was supposed to destroy you. One night she screamed, "I gave up everything for you," and I screamed back, "I never asked you to." She left that night. Came back 2 days later with a suitcase and an engagement ring from the deacon's son back in Chicago. "He still wants me," she said, voice flat. "Mom says they'll forgive me if I come home and do this right." I looked at the ring and felt something inside me die cleanly. I told her to leave. She did. 6 months later I saw her picture in the alumni magazine. Sarah Thompson, newly married, smiling beside a man who looked kind and safe and nothing like me. The caption said she had moved back to Chicago to be closer to family. I closed the magazine and cried in my car for 20 minutes. Then I drove to the marina where we docked after the storm, sat on the pier, and watched the same Pacific stretch out like it had never been touched by our catastrophe. I still don't know if I hate her. I still don't know if I do it all again. What I do know is this. The wind that day didn't just shift the boat. It shifted the course of 2 lives, and neither of us has found our way back to shore. Some loves are not meant to be survived. Some truths cost more than anyone should have to pay. And here is the question that keeps me awake. Was it worth it? Loving her honestly, if the price was watching her choose the lie that let her keep everyone else? True or false?